Welcome one, welcome all to this episode of the Lindsey Elmore Show. Today, I am so excited. I am talking with Tarin Calmeyer, and she has such a joyful and wonderful spirit, and she understands that the intentions that we set for our lives matter, and it governs what we can manifest within ourselves. She shares her mission and vision all throughout different workplaces, encouraging companies to focus on their employees' health and wellness. After that, I will be giving you lots of tips about how you can maximize effectiveness and efficiency in your workplace while still maintaining work-life balance, even when your workplace is at home. Let's get to the show. Welcome to the Lindsey Elmore Show, a podcast that helps you find fulfillment amidst chaos. On this show, I interview thought leaders, doctors, creatives, spiritual gurus, and game changers who inspire you to pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Tarin Calmeyer has spent more than 10 years bringing together her yoga and meditation expertise. She's been sharing it with people all around the world with a teaching style that highlights her deep understanding of the body, mindfulness, conscious living, as well as osteopathy. This extensive experience has led her to understand that the body is not just one thing. The body needs to be in balance across our mind, our physical body, as well as our spirit and our emotional body. She has a special interest in helping companies to foster workplace wellness and has worked for brands like Puma and the Move and Pick Resorts. In 2020, Tarin and her team launched Remote Team Wellness, a live virtual wellness solution designed to bring health and balance to companies and their employees. Sessions are easy, they're booked online, and employees arrive via video conferencing to meet with a real teacher for a personalized session. The thing I love about my conversation with Tarin is that she understands that when companies support purpose within their employees by setting the intention that we are all working and moving towards the same common goal, it forces the company to also set their intention towards that purpose. Let's get to my conversation with Tarin Calmeyer. Tarin Calmeyer, welcome to the Lindsey Elmore Show.
Thank you so much, Lindsey. I'm delighted to be here. It's going to be such a good conversation.
I'm so excited to talk to you because you not only know yoga and meditation, and you work specifically with companies as well as individuals, but you really love to work with companies on how they can improve workplace wellness. And you have a background in osteopathy. So give us a bit of, tell us who Tarin is, how you got started, and how your journey has evolved and brought you to where you are now.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try and condense that and wrap that up into a neat little package for you. So I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I grew up dancing, grew up very active, very much in like a competitive headspace, loved my competitions, but only solo competitions. Like dancing was the perfect sport for me. And then kind of when I was about 17, 18, all of that came crumbling down when I got injured and really hurt myself, and realized that everything that I had been building toward wasn't exactly going to work out as I had planned it. So first reroute.
Isn't that how it always goes?
Seriously, yeah. It's like, oh, but I have my whole life figured out. I'm 18 years old. you know. So I went to the doctor, and he was like, look, you're not going to be performing, so you're going to need to rehabilitate in some way. And so as a person who's just generally curious about taking on different journeys, I decided to try. He suggested either water aerobics or yoga, and I said, okay, well, yoga it is, because not really a water aerobics fan. And I started with a Bikram yoga class, which that was the intensity that I needed to really draw me into a consistent practice. And because I was injured, like I couldn't do as much as I was used to doing, so I needed that groundedness of the heat to just get myself into a more mindful rhythm of showing up to a practice without actually, coming into a practice and just coming to compete, just coming to perform. And that really changed the game for me, and how I approached my journey, and how I approached the things that I took on. And after that experience, I decided to move into a space of really learning more about rehabilitation and learning how to treat the body, which led me into sports science. And that wasn't quite for me, but through that, I found the practice of osteopathy, which was it is a holistic practice and very all-encompassing of everything that I was starting to learn about the body being a unit, and not really seeing things in part anymore and looking at treating symptoms. I was now learning this whole world about treating the body as a whole. And that was incredible, an absolutely amazing experience. Through that, it was seeing quite a lot of people, communicating with a lot of different energies through the student clinic, and I needed a lot of yoga myself. So I started to combine my yoga practice with the things that I was learning in osteopathy. And as I moved through that flow, it was a really interesting and opening experience for me to just try new ways again of treating the body. I went and did my yoga teacher training eventually, because the teacher who I had worked with had just said, yeah, like, I think you should be a yoga teacher. And I decided to do it to deepen my own practice. But yeah, it had other plans for me, obviously. And yoga has been kind of the base for everything that I've launched into.
Well, it's very interesting, because what you said was that after you started the practice of yoga, you were in the student clinic, you were learning about the body as a whole, and not just the physical body. But what you said was, I needed a lot of emotions, which says clearly to me that you understand that the emotional self is absolutely critically important to our overall physical well-being. Yes. And so how can we, just with simple daily practices, work to even out our emotions, especially if some of our listeners are in the situation that you were in, where you were giving of yourself throughout the whole day? You were there to support other people's wellness journeys. How do you, in your everyday life, and how can our listeners live this mindful wellness without burning themselves out?
It's a fantastic question. And I really feel like that's the shift that we're making at the moment, because I think that starts with coming back and checking in with yourself and doing practices that ground you into your own physical, emotional, mental well-being daily, regularly, to keep coming back, because there is just so much noise, especially at the moment. There's so much going on. There's constant stimulation and constant things to intake, constant information, and all of that just distracts and pulls us away from, being in our center, being with ourselves, trying to really, get still with ourselves and our minds, and give ourselves time to think. Think about that. I think that's one thing I would impart to listeners, is how often do you stop and actually give yourself time to think during the day? And that is basically what a meditation practice is. It's allowing yourself to just observe what is. And whether you are, sitting on a cushion, on a mountain, on whatever it is that you're doing it on, if you're running down the road, if you're cooking a delicious meal, if you are giving yourself that time to just check in with your internal processes, check in with your breath, be completely and fully enraptured in a moment, then those are the practices that are going to help you to feel a little bit more centered and a little bit more grounded as you move into whatever else, and you take on whatever else comes.
Absolutely. It totally makes sense. I think that we all hear about, well, you got to live in this moment. It's the only moment that exists. The best that I can do right now is fully pay attention to what you are saying to me, because we are the ones that are blessed enough to be sharing this moment together. And I think that this year has been so full of stress and what the heck and why and excuse me and oh no, another opinion. My friend called it the infodemic. That is what we have had this year, is an infodemic.
100%.
And the other day I was listening to a podcast and I heard Eckhart Tolle say something so profound. And he said, stress is nothing more than wanting the present moment to be something different than what it is. And
Wow.
I just, right? How good is that? And I was so angry. And I was like, don't you talk logic to me, Eckhart Tolle. Don't you do it. So, oh, goodness. I love what you said. Like, it's just observing. It's just being in this present moment. One of the places that we get so far out of balance is at work. It just is a go, go, go. And can you perform? And can you do this? And a lot of companies don't necessarily see the value of wellness for their employees. Tell us why that companies can thrive when they put a focus on employee health and well-being, mental well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like, there was a study done by Forbes, and 61% of the people polled reported themselves as burnt out, like self-reported as burnt out. And so if that is what we are going into the workforce with, and that's just the kind of culture that we're upholding, it's clearly not going to work outside of the context of a safe place to come to, that you are used to, that you have a social network. So we've now had the way that we work completely transitioned and shifted, right? Like, we have to now work in new environments, in our home environments, and make our home environments not only our work environments, but also our child rearing environments and our wind down environments and everything that comes with that. And so when companies don't see the value in supporting and prioritizing their people, then those people are left without the resources and the tools that they need to maintain full life well-being, as well as being supported in their workload. It's very difficult to balance a workload, a pandemic, and then also your mental, physical, emotional, social well-being all in one, if there's no real support structure. And to this point, the way the corporate wellness has kind of been presented is that, it's just about the cure. We just need to find it. We'll find a cure when it happens. It's all about screening, and if something is wrong, then we react to it, instead of it being this very intuitive, responsive way of looking at the fact that you are trying to build something sustainable and long-term, which means that you're going to need the people who are working for you to be well and to be able to support whatever it is that you're trying to build long-term. You can't see people as expendable, because that doesn't create that sustainable long-term culture. It doesn't support a long-term business, doesn't support a long-term practice either. So to really look at the foundation of a business as the people who are working in it is so incredible for a company to do, because that just helps to boost them, not only in their employees wanting to be engaged and wanting to work for them and really moving toward working for a purpose, but also to really allow companies to see the benefit in the people that do join their mission, because that is what a company is. A business is a mission to make something happen. So yeah, so basically that's as precise as I can get it.
I think what you said is so important, because what you said is that companies, when they foster wellness, can encourage their workforce to work for a purpose. The thing that makes me think about is the company has to have a purpose that matters to begin with. And so it fosters not only healthy employees, but the companies that actually believe that their employees are worth having healthy food on site, having lunch breaks that matter, having work hours where your boss doesn't email you after, I don't know what, like 8 p.m. at night. Like, you know, we could be a little reasonable about this. It ensures that the company has their own ethical compass, because if they deviate from that ethical compass, the mindfulness that you have crafted through the practice of yoga, if it is in your workplace, just continues to grow. So you mentioned that 61% of people are burned out. I also learned that meditation can help to drive focus and increase productivity by up to 120%. 12% of employees call in to work sick because of their job stress. Right. And stress costs businesses $200 to $300 billion a year in lost productivity. What other ways can you tell us that stress in the workplace prevents this full life well-being?
Absolutely. Well, in addition to that $200 to $300 million that the stress causes, there's also a phenomenon called presenteeism, which is where people are at work, they are there physically, but they are not actually present. They are not actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're spending time, distracted, pulled away on Facebook, or doing something else, and that costs companies about $350 million a year. So it's all of these tiny little distractions and things that make us feel like, because again, we have so much information at our fingertips all the time. And if we have no intention with how we are structuring the information that we are receiving, and by intention, I mean a purpose for why we are doing what we are doing, it is very difficult to actually say, like, oh, well, I have these things to do at work today and I'm doing them because it's what I want to do. It's inside of me, it's what I'm driven. It's what I feel like I need to be doing. And it's we disconnect from that when it's just like, oh, well, I'm here as a means to an end. I'm here, as just for the money, for the paycheck, because I don't believe in what the company is selling. I'm going to quote Simon Sinek here. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. It's the same with the employees. Like, people are not, the employees that are just there for the paycheck are not the ones that are going to take you to, incredible heights in your business and elevate you. They are because they don't believe in your purpose. They don't believe in your vision. And that comes back to the business's intention. So really, I think the answer to your question is everything comes back to intention. And the other stresses that kind of come around it are things that are outside of what you are trying to bring in. That's what is so stressful, because it's like, this is actually not what I want, and it's stressful because it's not actually something that resonates with me. And so it becomes very difficult to navigate when you're in that space and in that cycle.
Oh, absolutely. So tell us about some of the most dramatic company transformations that you have seen, be they on a subtle level or on an overt level where the entire company changed before your very eyes. Because dramatic transformations, I think, can... it can be ousting a CEO and getting somebody who has that great intention, and all of a sudden it just creates this subtle wave that flows down the entire company. Or it can be getting just that perfect person who runs the mailroom, that every time they show up at your door, they're full of joy and full of life. Tell us about some of the ways that people started and some of the things that you intervened with and where they decided to go because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just really interesting because when sometimes there are stigmas attached to, the words meditation or yoga, and there are things in people's minds that there's automatically a block. Just the word is a block. So it's been a very interesting conversation to come into workplaces that are normally quite traditional, normally quite, like we do things a certain way, and we have our way of operating, and that's it. We don't like the change. And walking into those meetings that start really, it's like up in the chest. The breath is up in the chest, and it's so interesting to watch that as I start to move through different ways of speaking to the body, understanding your breath, understanding the mind body connection, learning how to manage the stress and the things that you feel with breath and with coming into your senses. It completely changes the way a person's physiology has been working. And so in those shifts, like I've literally watched grown men who I'm sure have never taken a breath deeper than their fourth rib before, just completely settle into their body, relax, and almost be in a completely new way of awareness and a way of being. And that through those awarenesses and those kind of light bulb moments is just a spark in creativity, and really understanding that things could be a different way. It's like I feel as though the breath is the most incredible gateway into expanding how you see your world, because
Yes.
because I mean, like, again, I've worked with companies that have just been very insular in the way that they see their world, the way that they see their branding, the way that they see how they are structuring processes and doing meetings and all of that, and then the way that it just shifts completely to be able to break open a little bit more and understand that, hey, it's actually not that that bad a thing to think about implementing a practice where everyone has to turn their phones off when we're in meetings, or where let's actually think about changing the branding that we've had for the last 50 years. Let's actually think about how we can completely shift the way that we have been seeing and experiencing what we are doing. And I think that was really interesting to watch in the I want to call it the old world. I don't even know what to refer but it was really interesting to watch because I was being present with clients and watch that shift. But digitally is so incredible as well, because there's this new level of connection that we're having to find, which is so interesting to be navigating and seeing how people are finding a new way to understand, communicate with, and be with each other in this digital space. So that's why I'm very excited about what's going to happen in the virtual wellness space from here on.
Tarin, I love that you just brought that up about delivering content virtually, because for you, it's not only about yoga and meditation, it's about team building exercises that involve a lot of play. And so now that we're in this virtual world, you are offering these services online. So why do you think that interactive play can be so beneficial as far as a piece of workplace wellness?
Because we need play to be able to continue to learn, and learning not just end with us playing on a playground until we're 12 years old, and then moving out of a space of being curious and asking questions and exploratory and not worried if we're going to fall down and scuff our knees, but really moving to this place of kind of everything being very linear and structured and factual. But we lose that element of creativity that comes with being curious. And so that's why we provide services that help companies to keep that curiosity, to keep that spark and that interactivity, not only with themselves, but also with each other. Because now companies don't really have that option of meeting up with their employees and taking them out for drinks. And there's that culture is now been a little bit eliminated. So to be able to interact and play with the people that you're working with, to be able to share ideas in a space that's not necessarily your working environment, but it has a little bit of a separated element, I think is a really important thing for companies to start to give as this virtual world starts to expand.
Absolutely. It gives people things that they understand that the workday has a beginning and an end, which I think is important to people. As we are so much more in this virtual world, it becomes much, much easier to just simply work around the clock. So, talk to me a little bit more about so one of the topics that you have that we could talk about today is accepting responsibility for one's health. And I think that that is a critical discussion for this moment in time where there is a lot of fear surrounding what's going on in the world, specifically as it relates to our health and well-being. So how do you think that people can come to a place where they do take responsibility for their own health and that it becomes a process that is joyous instead of drudgery?
Yeah, really good question. I think, again, so firstly, if you're going to start anything, if you're going to start to take responsibility for anything, if you're going to start a new journey, it really starts with having an intention, a reason why you're doing it, and letting that be the anchoring and guiding light for you to move toward whatever it is that you are trying to achieve or accomplish. So, and how we set intentions is just, again, by asking, like, what is my purpose with this? What do I feel like I want to feel when I'm moving through my days? Do I want to feel a bit more calm? Do I seek to explore mindfulness practices to help me feel more peace and ease in my life? Do I want a six pack? And if that is your intention, then that is the thing to literally to focus on. But I mean, there are so many layers of like what your intention could be. And so I think that as we move into that space, it's so important to keep your intention as your focus, but to also allow yourself to really be the change that you are hoping to see. So if there's something, especially in this moment, if there's something that you are looking at and it's not the way that you want it to be, it's not the world you want to live in, it's not up to the thing that you have as what lights you up and what really makes you passionate, then you need to start to embody what it is that you want to see happen. And that can take so many forms, so many forms, but it starts with you. Everything will always start with you. And we've had this conversation so much about outsourcing our health and outsourcing different parts of our life, outsourcing our power to, people who are in authority, people who have studied, people who have done, it's very much a mentality of not really accepting that you are the person who knows yourself and your body the best. No one else is inside of your head. No one else is inside of your thoughts. No one else knows the depth of you like you do. And so if you're going to change anything, you have to start with what you are working with, because there is very little that we can control outside of what we are working with, internally. It is all about coming back into a sense of, like, again, where am I here? What time is it now? What am I doing? And why? And then that's how you move forward. That's how you start to help others to heal and help yourself to heal, because you are actively healing your own processes and becoming aware of your own stories, becoming aware of where you are at. Again, if we're not checked in with ourselves, it's very difficult to check in with other people and fully actually care, So yeah, I'd say definitely coming back to yourself, starting with intention, and allowing yourself to just be very mindful about, how you are doing things to change your world actively, because you are creating in every moment. You're creating the story, the narrative, whatever it is that you want to see and whatever you want to attract. So that's a really good way to just kind of start yourself off with accepting that you are the person that is going to save yourself. There's no cavalry coming. You are your own hero.
Oh, so good. You are absolutely the hero of your own stories. And by being the hero of your own story, you become the guide in other people's stories. You become a
Absolutely.
person who people say, I want a little bit more
No.
peace in my life. I want a little bit more peace in my life. And so I'm going to do what she does. I'm going to do what he does. So, well,
Mm.
Tarin, it has been so much fun to talk to you. Your energy is just it's just so gentle and so wonderful, and you do work globally. So even though you are
Yeah.
in South Africa, everyone can look you up at remoteteamwellness.com. I
Yep.
encourage all of the entrepreneurs listening, even if you've only got a few very close contractors, perhaps they're not your employees. But if you have a mission driven company and you have a big vision that you would like to see manifest in the world, bring the people closest to you that work alongside you along that journey with you. And Tarin, you are offering a virtual meditation, yoga, or mindfulness session at the special introductory offer of only $99. And it's 45 minutes, no matter how big or small your team is. So everyone look her up at Remote Team Wellness. And Tarin, before you go, are you
Yeah.
ready to answer some lightning round questions?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Who has been the biggest influence in your life?
Both of my parents, absolutely, for sure.
What things really make you laugh?
Bubbles.
Oh, bubbles.
Bubbles,
Okay.
bubbles, baby animals, like tiny animals, and animals in general, because animals have such incredible energy and ways of doing things, and children.
And children. Oh, so cute. What are your pet peeves?
Ooh, tardiness, not respecting other people's time, and not respecting other people's space.
Oh, so true.
Mm.
What is your number one strength?
Ooh, feeling and sensing, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
What do you struggle with the most?
Being seen.
Well, I see
Mm.
you. Um,
Thank you.
if you could give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Mm. Keep showing up.
So good. And last but not least, God to you is.
Love.
So good. Everybody, go check out the joyful and just full of life Tarin Calmeyer. And she is over on the interwebs at www.remoteteamwellness.com. Tarin, thank you so much for being on the Lindsey Elmore Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so great to chat to you. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Feeling vibrant, healthy, and fit should be really simple. Unfortunately, I find that most women out there are just kind of running on neutral. Most people find that sometime throughout their day, they want to feel better. But too many health and wellness programs out there require way too much money, are too advanced in the kitchen, require tons of gear or equipment, and they don't provide any kind of system for support. Or, my least favorite, are just all based on shakes and supplements that leave you feeling hungry. That's why I created the Clean Slate Cleanse. I wanted people to feel empowered to cook healthier meals because they had easy to follow recipes and easy to find ingredients. I wanted everybody to know that they had the power and the ability to take back control when their health seems to be slipping away. You can also just find a renewed sense of confidence and life when you dive into changing the way that you eat. It's about more than just what's on your plate. It's about finding daily inspiring activities that allow you to connect the mind and the body. When you join the Clean Slate Cleanse, you get a transformational 21-day program that changes the way that you cook, that you eat, and that you relate to the food on your plate. No fasts, no gimmicks, no starvation, no endless shakes and supplements. Just real plant-based foods that reveal the health and wellness that is already inside of you. All you have to do to join our next Clean Slate Cleanse, look around at the recipes and purchase the cookbook and the workbook, as well as read testimonials from people just like you, is head to www.cleanslatecleanse.com. That's www.cleanslatecleanse.com. 2020 has definitely changed the landscape of work for most people. And a lot of people are finding themselves in the position that they are working from home. So not only has home become home where we cook and raise children and have pets and yard work and repairs to do, but it's also become the place where our job functions take place, where our recovery takes place, where our child schooling takes place. There's a lot. And so in this segment, I want to talk to you a little bit about how not only to maximize productivity in the workplace, but also thinking through how can you strike a work-life balance when you move the office into your home. It can seem like you are working absolutely around the clock. So first things first, create a work area. One of the things that can make you so much more productive is if you get off of the couch, turn off of the TV, and get to a space that is a designated workspace. If you've got older kids, hopefully they can respect that workplace. If you have younger kids, hopefully they can stay focused on their own projects while you are seated at the table with them. I know it's not ideal, but even a dining room table will be more productive than sitting in the floor. If you can have a dedicated home office, amazing. Using organizers to keep your inbound and your outbound mail organized, perhaps being sure that you have your priority lists as well as your daily to-do lists, and also creating some semblance of a schedule. And for me, keeping a space that is tidy helps me to maintain my overall work day. So designating that office and keeping it really, really as clean as you can is very important. Also, get dressed if you can. When you just roll into the office with your PJs on, it doesn't quite feel like you're at work, and that can lead you towards more distractions. If you're sitting in your pajamas, you can feel like, oh, I'll just go throw in a load of clothes, or oh, I'll go and just cook a meal right now. Things that you would not have normally done during a work day. I mentioned a priority list, and a priority list is really important. It's very important to not only look at your priorities, but also look at the to-dos and consider batching those into different tasks that have different levels of importance. So for me, I don't like working on my finances. It's just part of me as an entrepreneur. I have to accept it about myself. That means that if I have I also just really don't like paperwork. I just want to work on creative stuff all day long, and that's it. But if I have contracts to read and I need to do work on my 401k, next week I'm calling all of my insurance agencies to ensure that I'm getting the best possible deal on my insurance. That sounds like no fun to me. But if I can spend one day doing it and get it off of my to-do list, not only do I know what is covered by my car insurance and my health insurance more accurately, but I also get to mark 3 giant check boxes off of my to-do list. And they all equally suck, so they might as well suck together in one big batch of things to do. So not only do I create a to-do list, but there has to be a hierarchy to the to-do list. It has to be what is important as well as urgent. Well, that's got to get done today. You know, if it's the last day to vote or the last day to pay your parking tickets before you get a warrant out for your arrest, you probably want to do that right now. That is an urgent and important task. But what's equally important and what really goes to the wayside in all work environments, but I think especially in a home office environment, is the things that aren't urgent but are really, really important. Things like setting a budget, things like doing revenue projections, seeing where you think you're going to be a year from now. Even when it comes to just your life, you know, being sure that your 401k is done, being sure that you've got some long-term savings plan, that you've protected the wealth that you have amassed over time. You want to be sure that you create a task list that's not just to-dos, but also has some very significant hierarchy and priority to it. Minimizing distractions is going to be critically important. If you are someone who picks up your phone all day long to check Instagram, you're going to need to put your phone in another room or uninstall Instagram from your phone. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're somebody who constantly gets distracted by the ding, ding, ding of notifications on your computer or on your phone, turn them off. You guys, I have not had notifications that come through on my phone in years. Like, I don't get Facebook notifications. I don't even have Facebook on my phone anymore. I don't get Instagram notifications. Don't tell me that TikTok wants to talk to me because I ain't got time for it. I don't get any notifications. And that is one way that you can really prevent that squirrel brain from taking over and help you to foster and maintain your productivity. So minimizing distractions. The next thing you're going to need to do is do some sort of physical activity. Take a walk, do 10 minutes of yoga. One of the things I loved back when I worked at Kaiser Permanente, which is a wonderful HMO hospital out in the western part of the United States. I happened to be in their Redwood City location in California. They had alerts that came on. You could set them every 30 minutes, every hour, every 2 hours, whatever it was. And it would just remind you, hey, stretch your wrists out a few times a day. You know, just something as simple as that can help to prevent the carpal tunnel. For me, I know that having a morning routine is shaping up to be more and more important to me. I'm giving it a go. You guys, since I moved to Asheville, I've been really trying to take a look at my own wellness patterns and where I had slipped and where the stress of this year had really gotten the best of me, and course correct and really bring the ship back towards steering towards a wellness direction that I wanted to be. And that means that I think I'm on day 13 of keeping a gratitude journal. I am on, I think, day 16 of meditation. I am on day 17 of a cleanse. And so just really trying to say, okay, let me just take a new inventory of where I have been, where I want to go. And so morning routines, getting out, doing some kind of exercise throughout the day can put some bookends to the day that help you to understand, okay, I am not at work right now, which brings me to my next way that you can set that work-life balance as well as maximize productivity. You need work hours. You need boundaries around your work hours. Otherwise, trust me, I know all about working around the clock. And so, you can't think through an 8-hour shift at home if you have kids and pets and laundry and all of the things accumulating around you. And so can you commit to having a 2-hour block and then taking a break? The other thing is your brain just can't stay focused for 8 continuous hours. It's simply not a thing. So you might as well take a break because it's going to make you more productive overall. The other thing you need to think about is that a lot of your work effort and your work product is going to come from those bursts of energy. 80% of the results come from 20% of your efforts. So if it means that you can have a solid couple of hours run with no distractions, solely focused on one project, you're going to drive that project forward. Think of my example of having to deal with calling all of my flippin' insurance companies just to make sure that I'm not overpaying, that I don't need more coverage, that I don't need less coverage, all of those things. That's not fun, but I am going to have a 100% result of knowing if I would like to change insurance companies, and I will know what is covered. And that's all going to come from just like, woohoo, I am going to focus on this one thing for just a couple of hours. Always take care of yourself. We talked so much with our last guest, Tarin, about the importance of wellness in the workplace. And so, something simple. Can you invest in a laptop stand so you're not constantly staring down at your laptop, putting strain on your neck? Could you perhaps sit on a balance ball all throughout the day? Could you use some blue light blocking glasses? Taking 10 minutes to do yoga 3 times a day. Imagine how your life might change if you did just a few things each and every day. Last but not least, mamas who have the ability to do it, if you need it, never be ashamed to ask for help. You may need to bring in a nanny or a tutor, or you may need to talk to your spouse and just have a clear conversation about like, I'm totally overwhelmed at the moment and I can't do it all. How can you advocate for yourself as a worker within your own home in the same way that you would advocate for yourself in the workplace? And how can we all, as partners of other people who may be working, how can we approach a portion of the relationship as now a working partnership? I can tell you this, as a boss, I respond very differently to when my employees come to me and say, something is wrong, can I talk to you about it? That is like this open invitation to, come and talk to me. What's going on? Let's figure it out. Let's be creative. Let's find solutions. We need to approach our spouses and our children in those same ways, especially older children who are really struggling to accomplish schoolwork, and especially also very younger children that are struggling to understand why they are not around their friends. How can we approach this with a little bit more of a boss mentality and a colleague mentality, understanding that we all are sharing space? Let's figure out how to do it in a way that maintains the peace and the joy around our home, as well as sets us up for success to achieve all of our goals at work. If you would like to learn more about tips for maximizing productivity while you are working at home, head on over to my blog over on lindseyelmore.com. Use the search function to look for working from home. There, you'll not only find a blog about 10 tips for working from home, but you will also find a blog about ways to combat burnout, ways to fight procrastination, and 30 days of social media posts that you can use to entertain yourself and be a bit creative while you're working from home. The Lindsey Elmore Show is written and produced by me, Lindsey Elmore. Show segments are produced by Sue Procco and Kelsey Lorman. Production design, sound design, and editing is by Jive Media. If you have a question about this or any other episode of the podcast, send us an email to hello@lindseyelmoreshow.com. And hey, since you're still here, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And while you're at it, go over and follow us on Instagram @Lindsey Elmore Show. This helps us bring the pod to more people.